Hi there, Michelle here, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am finally going to be comparing all of the all-in-one granny squares. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing all of the all-in-one granny squares. I will be ranking them, and I will be telling you which ones are my favorite and which ones I would never use again. The whole reason why I wanted to test these yarns out to begin with is because I love novelty yarn. I just love a fun, weird new yarn, and I always have to try it because I just want to see how it's going to work, and that's kind of what drew me to these yarns, is because of how fun they are. If you're new to my channel and you like crocheting and knitting and yarn and thrifting and the 80s and all that stuff, why not hit the subscribe button? I feel like nowadays when you hear the word subscribe, it's usually to like Netflix and you got to pay a fee or something like that, but there's no fee. If you subscribe to my channel, then you will always be up to date with my latest videos that come out. Also, subscribing will help me get to my goal of 100,000 subscribers, which I hope this year will be the year. Last year was not the year, and that's okay. Maybe this year will be the year. This is how I'm going to break up this video. We're first going to go over all of them. We're going to go over all the granny square yarns from the very first one in order to the last one that I have tried. That's pretty much the same order that they came out in. Then after that, I'm going to be ranking them, and then I'm going to tell you what my favorite one is versus my least favorite. First off, we're going to start off with the original all-in-one granny square. This one came out, I believe, in 2023, like the end of 2023, and I was so jealous of everybody that could get it. Mainly people in the States could get it. Canada, we got it a little bit later, but I think we ended up getting it in January. This is what I made. But if you remember this one, I had so much difficulties with it. So much difficulties. I wanted to make the same vest as the person on the packaging. It was basically like this on both sides, and I did that, and I hated it. I hated how it looked. It wasn't good. It was not good. Then what I ended up doing was I took it mostly apart, and then I kind of redid it, and I still didn't like it. And then after all of that, all I had to do from the original one was just take out 3 panels in the center, put some ribbing, add some buttons, and we got ourselves a vest. I think it is pretty cute. I do like the colors. What is kind of neat about these granny squares is that the last row is either going to be a white or a black, which is kind of neat because then you can buy all of the same colors. So this one here, I didn't have to do a join as you go border. It is just the border on here. That way I could use all the squares with the same border, and then that way it kind of comes out with this effect. When they first came out, I bought, I think, like every color, and I still haven't used them, so I don't really know what I'm going to do with them. But they have since come out with some ones that are like very 80s. I really would like to make a vest with those. What I did notice with these ones here that ended with the white, whatever the second last color was, it kind of bled into the white. Right here's a great example. You see this blue? You see this blue here? Well, technically it's supposed to be the white, but it's very blue because the square is blue. Whereas this one here, the last row is supposed to be white and it's pink. So you kind of see the pink and the blue. Also, some squares were not great. I don't think I used any. Some squares were better than others. So as you can see, like this one here, the red kind of went into the next row and I just didn't care. But nowadays I probably would just cut it and call it a day. There was one that I feel like a lot of people tried. It didn't work for anybody, and I think it threw a lot of people off of this, and they didn't really want to buy any more of it. And that was, I believe, citrus or something like that. Beautiful colors. I loved it. It wouldn't add up. No matter how many times I've changed my tension, I changed the hook size, I changed like everything I could possibly change to like get it to like line up, it never lined up. And the problem was is that it was like one of the prettier colors, so I think a lot of people bought it, and it didn't really work for anybody. And if it worked for you, that is amazing, because I could not get it to work, and that's why it's not on this one. Also, for these ones here, the hook size recommended a 5.5, and I think I ended up using a 5. And honestly, on every single one, except for one, because it was a different one, and we'll get into that, it always said to use a 5.5. I never once used a 5.5 for this. My tension, I don't know, just wouldn't work, wouldn't line up, too big, and I've always had to go down to a 5 or 4.5. I don't know if I ever went down to a 4, but this one here was done in a 5mm and not the recommended 5.5. Another thing that I did notice about this is when the one color would end, it didn't really give you a good like lifeline or like a little bit of extra yarn of the last color before it turned back to like the middle color. So that was a little annoying because sometimes I would have to change a little bit on the border, maybe not put as many double crochets sometimes in the corners. Instead of putting 3, I would put 2 just to like make that last color last a little bit longer, because once that color was done, it basically just skipped and went right into the next color for the next square, which is annoying. This one here, I feel like the colors online and the color on the package pretty much looks like the color on here. That's kind of the main reason why I sometimes don't buy yarn online, is because I don't know how it feels and I don't know if it's going to be the color that I actually want. So I think originally I bought these at Walmart. The color does match what it looks like in person, which is very important to me. Another thing about this yarn is I know it is Red Heart, and a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with Red Heart yarn. However, I do have to say this is on the softer side of acrylic yarn. It feels like, let's say, Loops and Threads Impeccable. If you've ever used that yarn, that's what it feels like. Now here's the thing. I have used a Red Heart yarn in the past that was not good. It was scratchy. I hated crocheting with it. I think I crocheted, it was actually a granny square project, my own design. I maybe used it for like a few little stitches, and I'm like, I can't do it. I cannot do it at all. So I completely understand why people would not want to use Red Heart yarn. Completely understand it, because I've tried it one time with a bad one and it wasn't good. This one, I have to say, is pretty good. It's a pretty good acrylic yarn. Again, kind of think like Bernat, feels like Bernat yarn, feels like Loops and Threads yarn. Okay, so it's not bad, it's not scratchy, and it actually crochets up really nicely. I really did like working with this yarn. I think I give this one maybe like a 7 out of 10. You know, like I would work with it again, but it wouldn't be like the first one of these granny squares that I would pick. And again, this was like from the very first batch, so maybe nowadays with the newer yarns, they've lined them up better. I might have to do another video and experiment with that, because I have bought newer yarns for them, so. There's this one. The next one that I got was the Flower Power one, and that Flower Power one came out basically an entire year after the original one. And I made this beautiful scarf. I think I used my Pound of Love white to do a nice little scallop border. I love this scarf. I think it is so gosh darn cute. I really loved doing these flowers. They are so cute, and the pattern was pretty well written. I don't think I really had to change anything on this. These ones obviously did take a little bit more time because they're a little bit more intricate, but once you got the hang of it, I just breezed through these. For the scarf, I did 6 green and 5 of the pink color, so then that way when I'm wearing it, if I were to wear it down like this, the colors would line up. And it was actually pretty good with being consistent on when the colors had to change. There was a few instances where it would change a little early or a little late. It wasn't as bad as the original yarn. It was actually pretty good when it came to the last color and the next color for the next square. They did give you quite a few inches between the colors, which was really nice, because in the original one, like I mentioned, it did not do that. It basically went from one color straight into the next. Didn't really give you like a safety net, you know. But this one here did give you a little bit of a safety net, which was really nice, so then I knew that like I wouldn't have to stress about the last color. These ones here, I probably give like a 9 out of 10. I really liked crocheting them. They took a little bit longer than I would like, just because they're a flower, but the outcome is so beautiful. And I really like the colors that they give you for this. I feel like some of the yarns, the colors just aren't the greatest together. I do find with the Flower Power yarn, it did give you a really good color selection. The coloring for this one online and on the package pretty much looks like the coloring that is on here. Again, certain yarns, they say they're one color and then you work with them and you're like, this is not what I signed up for. But this one here is pretty true to what it looks like online. The next one I tried, I think it's between the two, because I think I bought them at the same time. It's the petite and the quilt, but we'll go with the quilt first because I think I made the quilt one first. The quilt motif yarn. This one, I have to say that I was the most excited for. I was the most excited to try this. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to get my hands on that. I need to try it. Like, I'm so excited. And yet, this yarn was probably the most disappointing yarn out of all of them. I know. It's corner to corner, and I've never done corner to corner, so it was kind of neat trying that out for the first time, but not with this. I've also heard a lot of other people complain about the quilt motif one. Like, it looks really cool. I feel like I picked the wrong colors. I know. I'm really bad at my color theory. I bought this one originally, like the yellowy one originally, and the orange one. And then I ended up buying these ones as an afterthought, but I just loved how 80s those looked, and that's why I ended up getting it. Because here's the thing, I wasn't planning on making a blanket this big. I thought I was gonna make a lap blanket with like the 2 colors that I bought, and then I realized it wouldn't have been enough, so I had to buy more yarn. And so then I ended up buying 2 more of these, but really I should have just bought a different color. You know, they don't really go together as well as I would like them to. And part of me would be like, oh, let's just buy more of it and fix it. No, I don't think I'm ever going to try this yarn again unless they come out with like a new colorway that I'm like, I need to try this. This one here, the coloring looks completely different than it does online and looks completely different than the packaging, which is a little upsetting. Sometimes you look at the packaging, you look what it looks like online, you look at it in person while it's still like in the skein, and you're like, yeah, this kind of looks like it. And then once you start working with it, you're like, no, this isn't what I wanted. And I felt like this was probably the worst one out of all of them for the color being very deceiving. I ended up just doing a, I think this is a half double or a double border with this beigey color. This color right here, this brown color, looked way more brown. It looked like it was brown. And then when I did it, it just looks like this orange color. Although yes, this orange color is beautiful. It is not what I wanted. So the colors here, very, very off. Didn't really suit it. Even for this one here, I'm pretty sure this green looked more blue and this pink looked more pink rather than it looking more turquoise and more purple. Even on this one here, the yellow looked, I think, more orange or more vibrant. This red, well, orange, I think looked more red online and on the packaging. And then when I got to it, the colors are just completely off. Like, don't get me wrong, it does look quite neat. It's very warm, to be honest. I'm probably going to keep it on my lap now because it's kind of cold in here. The other problem that I had with it is things just wouldn't line up. So what would happen is when I would get to like, you know, one of the edges where I had to turn around and like change color, either 1, I would have way too much yarn, or 2, I would run out of yarn too soon before I had to switch colors. So then I would have to take everything back and readjust my tension, either make it tighter or make it looser. And by the very end of it, I was like, you know what? I am done doing that. And each one is just 3 double crochets. It's just like a granny stitch. That's all it is. I don't even know how I did it. It's very interesting looking at this now because I'm like, I have no idea. Instead of doing 3, I would do 2 or I would do 4, whatever it was in order for them to line up, because I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I have to stop being precise. It is driving me nuts. And I just remember having to take it apart so many times. And it took me so long to make this thing because of how many times I had to take it apart. I mean, if you really, really want to do this, definitely go for it. But it's not one that I would suggest. I think I give this one like a 5 out of 10. I mean, it looks cool. The colors are kind of neat, even though they lied to me. I still give it a 5, but I don't think I would ever buy this particular yarn again. I would, however, try to do another corner to corner project with my own yarn that I don't have to stress about. Definitely not my favorite one of these. Next up is the Granny Square Petite. I do have to put this out there that the Granny Square Petite is only 3 colors. This color in the middle, this beige one, like I just literally talked about that I did the border for this, is just a join as you go that I added after. So the Petite yarn is only this brown, this beige, and this orange. Only 3 colors. I have more of these. When I first bought it, I just bought this color. It was actually kind of like between this color and this one here. This one is my favorite. The yarn worked up perfectly, like every single time, and it did give me a good tail in between each of the squares, so I didn't have to worry about going into the next color for the next square when I'm on the other square, you know what I mean? And I made this really cute bag. I also have my little Enoch charm that I made, and inside has squirrel and raccoon fall fabric. This bag I used pretty much all throughout the fall. I use this bag so much. I love this bag, and I love the join as you go color that I pick with it, which is great because it is only a 3 color square. So if you add that join as you go, it's not going to really make the squares too big. Like this one here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. Then if you do a join as you go, then you're going to have to add another 6th color, and that just takes a lot of time. If you ever want to try these for your first time, I highly suggest the Petite. The Petite also has really good colorways. I really like them. I know technically I could just use my own yarn and make my own granny squares, but just something about not having to cut yarn, not having to weave in a bunch of ends is the selling feature for this. I love a good novelty yarn, and that is why I buy these. Also, I do feel that the color on the package and online pretty much matches what it looks like in person. These ones I haven't really tried yet, but just looking at them, the colors do kind of match the image on the package, which is very nice. I like it when it does that because that's what it really should do. This yarn here, I give a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love how these turned out. The next yarn is the Bernat all-in-one yarn. Although this is Bernat and not Red Heart, it is still owned by the same company, Yarnspirations, and Yarnspirations does Red Heart and it does Bernat. So it's all together. This is the Bernat blanket yarn. It is super chunky. I normally don't use yarn like this. Feel like this yarn is more like for plushies and blankets, and because I don't do plushies or blankets unless like it's one of these projects, it's one of my favorite ones. I loved it. I think that all the yarn lined up perfectly and there was enough yarn between one square to the next square. I ended up buying a bunch of colors, and in my original video I didn't actually make the blanket this big, but after I was done the blanket I'm like, I need it to be bigger. So I did go back and I ended up buying 2 more colors. These 2 in the corner were the new colors that I added in. I also have to say that I figured out what was wrong with my join to go. I think I was mentioning that in the video that something wasn't right, and it took me until like the last project that I'm going to show you in all of this to realize what I was doing wrong, and I figured it out and I can make them better now, but I'm not taking this one apart. It kind of flattened itself. The problem is that in between the join as you go, it was like kind of sticking up as like a little tent almost. It's the only way that I can describe it. And I was like, what was I doing wrong? And it was because it was the way that I was doing my hook. If you remember this video, which we'll get into, I talked about it in that one, okay? It was the way that I put my hook in. I don't remember, I went up or I went down. I was supposed to do the reverse essentially. And then I ended up using another Bernat color, this one here, which sometimes looks like gray, sometimes looks like sand. I wanted to pick a color that wasn't the same color as any of the squares, but I wanted to pick a color that kind of like went with all the squares. You know what I mean? This blanket I use every single day. This blanket is huge and it is so heavy. It is almost like a weighted blanket. Not as heavy as a weighted blanket, but it's pretty heavy. I usually have like my one blanket on me and then I'll put this blanket on top to weigh it down. It has held up. Some of the little strands have come out because I probably could have weaved in some of the ends a little bit more, but other than that, this blanket has held up. I do feel like this one is a little deceiving as well. The coloring online, the packaging, and in person are all different. This one here, I thought it was going to be a little bit more pink, like this baby pink looked a little bit more pink online, and then seeing it in person, you know, it was a little off. And I feel like the same thing with like this one. Where is it? This one here, and this brown. It almost looks a little cool tone, but it was a little bit warm tone online. I think I made this like October, November-ish, and I still use it every single day. I probably give this one another 10 out of 10. This one and the Petite one are probably like my 2 favorites. I absolutely love this yarn so much. I can't get enough of it. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite ones, and I use this every single day on my bed. The next one is the Grande Square. I don't have it with me in here just because of what it is. I made it a cover for my little bed seat, which has like the back and like the 2 arms that I put my elbows on to rest while I'm crocheting and while I'm knitting. That is in the house. That was too big. I brought 2 blankets out, but that was just too big to carry out here. I really liked how this yarn went. I feel like the colors that it said online matched up with the colors they were. When it came to one square ending and the other one began, I don't think there was a lot of yarn in between. So it was, you know, you kind of had to like, it was like cutting it close sometimes. It was pretty much exactly like doing the original Granny Square. It's just there was a lot more rows because there's a lot more colors in there. I think that the color switching was really nice too. I really liked how it went because it would go, the middle was like 2 rows, then it went 2 rows of another color, and then it went 1 row of another color, then it went like 2 rows of another color, 2 rows of another color, and then the last row was 1 row of one color. I really like the flow of the colors on this. I like how they blended into each other really nice. My favorite one was definitely the pink and red one. Those colors just look so good together. I think crocheting them was really easy. It just took a little bit more time because again, it was a bigger square. I will say that having used it for like 2 months now, it's really stretched out and the yarn is pilling a lot. But again, I am using it every day. I'm sitting on it. My arms are always moving on it. Like it's being used and it has not fallen apart or anything like that, but it's definitely seen better days, like 2 months ago better days. But I really like the colors of this. I don't think there's a lot of different color combos. Like there's not a lot of the yarn, but I do feel like the color choices that they picked are pretty good for this one. I give the Grande yarn probably like an 8 out of 10. I really liked it, but again, there was a few issues with the colors not lining up perfectly. So instead of me pulling things apart and adjusting my tension, again, I would just put an extra double crochet somewhere and then take a double crochet out if I needed to, just so it lined up. And honestly, looking at it, I can't really even tell where I did that. And the last granny square yarn was the Sweethearts yarn. Now again, I do want to point out that the Sweetheart yarn only consists of 3 colors. This purple color here was, I believe, I think it was called Periwinkle, and it was by Loops and Threads, Soft Classics. That one I added in as a join as you go. So the original square was only this pink, orange, and this turquoise green color. I really like this one too. This one is also very similar to the Flower Power one, with it has like the little heart inside. I will say that the coloring, not the greatest. I don't know why they would put this pink right next to this orange. They're so similar in colors that it's like kind of hard. Well, for me, looking into the viewfinder, it's kind of hard for me to see that there's even a heart there. I also think I did the hearts wrong on one side. I think this is the good side with the hearts. I would have done pink heart, then I would have done a turquoise, and then I would have done the orange. But I do like how the purple and turquoise look together. So, I mean, I guess that worked out. But if the square was by itself, I just don't see it. And I also feel like the coloring choices that they had for this yarn, not the greatest. That's why I ended up going with this one here. I thought that it looked the best one out of all of them. Some of them, I don't know. I wasn't really in love with the color choices that they had for this yarn. That's why I say that. This one was probably my favorite one out of all of them. As you can see here, there's a little bit of pink right there. That is because this yarn went into the next square. So there wasn't a lot of leeway between squares, which is not my favorite. All the yarns feel exactly the same. This one actually feels softer than this one, but they're all basically the same consistency except for the Bernat one because that's a completely different yarn. The problem with this one is I had to make my own pattern for it. I will put a photo here of the pattern that I did. I followed theirs originally. It did not work out at all. It was probably the least accurate pattern out of all of them. There was a whole section where it told me to do triple crochets, and if I were to do triple crochets, I would have run out of the color. I believe like this orange color constantly. Like every single square would not add up if I were to have followed their pattern. So I did my own pattern, and honestly, I think it turned out pretty good. I really liked how they looked, but the pattern is no good. I modified mine a little bit, and it looks fine. They all added up to a perfect square. It's good. I'm good to go. I really like it. Probably rate this yarn, I want to say a 7 out of 10. Okay, I love the heart motif. I love the bag that I made. The project I made is great. All the projects I've made are great. I love them all. It's just the pattern that they told you to use for the heart doesn't work. So other than that, I do really like this yarn. I just wish the pattern was more accurate, but after I made my adjustments, it's fine. Now, I do want to give an honorable mention to another granny square yarn that I believe is discontinued, and it was by a completely different brand. I think it's Concept. They made this yarn, and it was very expensive. I remember it being like $60 a ball of yarn, and I ended up getting it at my local yarn store, Central Pearl, last year. She only got it in one time, and then they discontinued it. But she did sell out of it, so that's good. So it turns out that this yarn is actually not discontinued, or at least it looks like there's still some available. I was only able to find it on a French site. I think it was from Quebec or something like that, and they only have these 3 colors. The original one I got was 502, and I actually did order the purple one because I really wanted that one, but it only looks like there's 3 colors at the moment. There used to be, I believe, 6, so I don't know if they just discontinued some of the colors or they actually did stop making this yarn, but it's still available in some places, and maybe once it runs out, it's gone forever. It still exists. I thought it didn't, but it does. It exists at this moment in time. I don't know how long it will be available for. Anyways, it's this. It's this one here. There's actually yarn in it for a project that I want to do that I obviously can't do now because I have so many other projects that I want to do. But yeah, this is the bag that I made with it. And then at the bottom, I used a different color and I crocheted it. Came with 24 squares. They're all different. There's not 2 squares that are the same. There are some squares that look similar, but they are not. They are all different squares, and I thought this was so fun. This is also, I want to say, like a DK weight or sport weight yarn, so it was really interesting crocheting it with a smaller hook. I liked the motions of crocheting a granny square with a smaller yarn. That was really neat to do. I also liked how none of the yarns had a distinct stop and go, like this one here, this middle one has to be purple, the next row has to be another color, etc. Like, it looks like each row is kind of different, but they're not. There wasn't like a strict rule of, oh, well, this color has to line up. It was just like, do whatever you want. And you never knew what square you were getting to, which was, honestly, I really like this yarn, and I would have loved to do another project with it because they came out with so many beautiful yarns. I think there was another one. I think there's another one where they were more like purpley, and I wish I would have got that one too. If I ever see them, I probably will buy it again. I did. While doing research to see if it was discontinued or not, I saw that this one was available and I bought it because I love the colors so much. Also, what I loved about this is the yarn between one square to the other one, it actually changed to white. And what they said, and I've actually did it, if you cut the white piece out, when you're ready to join them all together, you can use the white one as a string and sew them together with it. And that is what I did. I sewed together the squares with the piece in between the squares. Like, that is such a good idea, you know, so you're not wasting yarn. You don't have to go get more yarn, and you know you're going to have enough yarn for each square. A few times I might have run out, like, see this like white here? I kind of ran out there, but it just kind of like adds to the character. Like, it doesn't bother me. This one here is probably one of my favorite yarns. I give this one like, I think like a 10 out of 10. This was so fun, even though it was expensive. I made this one last year, and I thought it was just an honorable mention because it is not part of the Red Heart granny squares. I wish more brands would come out with their own granny squares because this one was just so cool to make. Inside of it, I used a reusable bag. I think this was from like PC Optimum or whatever, and it had these leaves in it, and I just put it inside out because this was technically the outside of the bag because it looks pretty. And then I hand sewed it in, and it comes with handles, obviously. So yeah, that was this project. Now that we've went over all the granny squares, I am going to rank them. I think my favorite granny square yarn was definitely the Concept granny square yarn. It was expensive, but 100% worth it. Honorable mention, favorite one, but I'm not going to list it in the rankings because I only want to do the yarn inspirations in the rankings, but this one is the best one. In spot number 1 is the Petite. Number 2 is Blanket. In 3rd place is the Flower Power. In 4th place is the Grande. In 5th place is the Heart. In 6th place is the original granny square yarn. And in last place, which I don't think is going to surprise anybody, is the Quilt Motif. First place is definitely this one. I love the color combos you can get with this yarn. I loved crocheting with it. I really liked it because the colors really lined up. I don't know if it's just, again, the color that I got, but I really liked crocheting with this. I loved making the bag. I loved adding the join as you go border, which makes the bag a little bit bigger than it would be without it. And I just think it looks so good. This is probably the easiest yarn to use as well. Very simple, and I got it done pretty quickly. I really like this yarn. And of course, in last place is this quilt one. I think here's the thing, looking at it, like, I'm very proud that I made it. It looks really cool, but I feel like the color choices that they picked for the yarn wasn't good. The coloring didn't even match what it looked like online, and trying to crochet this thing was a little bit of a nightmare. Certain colors just wouldn't line up what they needed to line up. It took a lot out of me. I was so excited for this one, and this one probably let me down the most. I love the blanket itself, but this is the type of yarn that I probably would not recommend buying, and I probably am not going to buy again. If you're unsure if you want to try this or not, I'm just going to say don't do it. If you want to do a corner-to-corner blanket, just get some yarn that you know that you're going to like, and it will save you so much time. Corner-to-corner looks really cool, but maybe pick your own colors. If any of y'all want to try this yarn, hopefully this video kind of gave you a good idea of what you're going to get yourself into. Maybe there was a yarn that you really wanted to try, and now you're like, I don't know, or vice versa. Maybe you're like, well, I don't know about that one, and then I've kind of talked you into it. I really do like this yarn. I think it's a cool novelty yarn, but I think you have to go into that as a novelty yarn, not something that is going to work out 100%. It's just fun. You can make some really good projects with it. That's what I have to say. At the end of the day, it's just a fun yarn. In the comments below, let me know if any of y'all have used any of these yarns, what your favorite one was, what your least favorite one was. I think a lot of people say that this is their least favorite, which I 100% agree with. But there are some really fun yarns, so let me know what your experience was if you've used any of these yarns yet. I think that does it for this video, so y'all have a good day now.